Hello everyone and welcome to our next vlog for our indie game Kingsblood. Within this devlog I wanted to talk about the light within our combat scenes. You can see one of our combat scenes right here, and we have these low polygonal 3D models, and a problem about low polygonal style is, at least in my opinion, that it always comes over as a little bit cartoonish. Now this does not completely fit into our world, since we want to have a very dark setting, a mature setting, and there are a lot of intrigues, death, and a very dark story just in general. So the idea was, at least in terms of the combat scenes, that we counteract this cartoonishness with gloomy and dark lighting or light. Now, I think it worked out very well. I think the scene itself looks really cool, really dark. Now, the problem is that it's not only the scene which looks dark, it's also the characters. And in terms of the wolves, as you can see right here, the shadows swallow so much information that you cannot really see the outline of the wolves. So our idea was that we configure additional lights which don't illuminate the scene because we like the scene how it is, but will illuminate the characters so that the character details will pop out, but the background will remain the same. Now, this devlog is a little bit special because we did not test this yet. I made some preparations, but within this devlog I would really like to test if this even gives a visual benefit. And if it does not give any benefit, I would be happy if the audience could give me an idea how we could improve the light, because I think the light really sets the tone of a scene, and if anyone has a cool idea how we can improve the light settings, I'm very happy to take any feedback. But this idea, shining a light on the characters, letting the background scene dark, and we will see how this goes. Now, for this to work, I had to do some preparations, and that's the part I already did, because we have our characters right here, and you see here are all our character prefabs, so to say. And for instance, here we have our newest character. He's a cook and a halfling, and his name is Bodo. He's a very cool special attack. Maybe I will show it in another vlog. But you see, in Unity you can define layers. So we created a new layer, we called it character. You can call it whatever, and I put this layer on every character. You see right here. So usually they just have a default layer, but we put every character on this layer. And now later on what we want to do is we will set up special lights within the combat scenes which will illuminate only objects on this character layer, and we will see how this will look. Now, could have done this for one of the scenes we already had, but I thought it is more fun to create a new scene, and I always wanted to try out creating a water scene. I think we had one before, but I messed it up. So right now I thought, let's also for the vlog create a completely new combat scene. So here we go. First of all, I created a terrain. It's basically just a plane, and then I sculpted the terrain into this plane by just using the terrain tools of Unity and a brush. Then I painted the textures into the terrain. I used a sand, a rock, and a grass texture, and then I laid out the basic water plane, which is a little bit above the ground level of the scene. The next step was that I put some assets, plants and stones and water plants into the scene. And also in the middle of the scene you can see Noki. I used a halfling model to see if the water level is not too high. And well, it works out. So the water should be about the height of the knees of the characters. The next part is that I had to set up a combat position marker. This is our indicator into what direction the group looks, and you can see this right here. So this is the direction where the group looks, and also I put a directional light into the scene with this, I would also say, gloomy turquoise bluish color. So now once again we have the issue that A lot of details are dark and swallowed. I mean, I think in this scene it's not as problematic as in the wolf's blood scene, but still most of the characters look kinda dark. And about the blinking of the characters, ignore this. I will explain this later on, because this is actually one of our new features. Okay, and here we are back in our scene. And what we will do now, we will add additional light sources, and we will try out how this will turn out in the end. So my idea was that we create 4 additional light sources, one from each direction. You see right here, first light source. Okay, then we take another one coming from the west. All right, let's turn it. Whoops. All right, and we create number 3, which will come from the north. And then here we go. Maybe it should all be a bit lower, I guess. And then we will create a 4th light source. I'm not an expert in terms of light, it's just some experimenting. And we will see how this will look. Now, I feel like we could create a white light, so the characters would display their true colors, but I think even those directional lights should be in tone with the general scene. So let's go for kind of this light right here. And now you see at the moment the whole scene is lit up completely. Now this is not what we want to try out. What we want to try out, we want to shine the light only onto the character layers. And I have really no clue how this will turn out, but that is what we created right now. So let's go back to the main scene and let's see if this actually has a beneficial effect on our visuals, and if it improves the visuals. If not, then it was an experiment. If yes, then it's great, because that's why we tried it. Alright, so I already selected the quest, which will lead us to the swamp combat scene, and now we can send back our group into the scene. And I wanted to use this moment to show you some of the new things which we also changed throughout the last week. So maybe you remember last week we implemented a basic walk animation for the characters when they walk on the world map. The problem was that they didn't use their own walk animation, which lead to some artifacts. For instance, if we used the basic walk animation and someone was holding a staff, then the staff was flying around in the air, stuff like that. But right now the characters use their own walk animation. Aside from that, we also added some audio. Let me unmute the game for a moment and let's see how this plays out. So you see when we move right now, then there will be a little sound, and like I said, the movement animation is played of the individual characters. Also, I talked about the light within the combat scenes, right? But we will, if this looks good, we will also apply it on the world map. Because right now you see also these characters are kind of shadowy, and how we wanted to counteract this is by setting a point light. But if you ask me, this looks really bad. So these characters are lit from the inside, and then here they are dark. So I really hope that the stuff I just set up within the combat scene looks good, because if it looks good, then we will also use it on the world map. But now let me fast forward quickly and let's jump into the combat scene. Okay, and here we are, and I think it is an improvement, because now these zombies, they are much better recognizable. But if you ask me, this is too bright, so let's maybe take out a little bit of the brightness, and maybe we can find somewhat of a middle way. Alright, this is attempt number 3, and this time I decreased the intensity of the light by 3 times. Now I feel that it is already once again a bit too dark. So once again I will go back to the scene and increase the light a little bit, and hopefully then it will be at least to my liking. Alright, and this time I did not really change the intensity, but I changed the tone away from bluish to white so that the characters display the original colors. And I think I leave it like that for this vlog. I think I have to experiment a little bit more and maybe also talk to my teammates how we want to go. But I think it is kind of a good idea to give at least an additional light source which does not influence the environment, because like you see right here, I kind of like the environment, and if we try to illuminate the characters, it will always have an effect on the environment. So I really think it makes sense to have 2 different layers, one for the environment and one for the characters. I guess the lighting of the characters will be a little bit of fine-tuning, but like I said, I will leave it like that for now. Also, what is a little bit weird about that scene is that we see the shadows of the characters now on the water plane. Maybe I have to fix that, I guess. This looks a bit unnatural, so I think here it looks very good, but here looks kind of strange. I think you usually don't see shadows on water, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, now I wanted to take the time to also explain the blinking you saw before in the combat, because as you know, when the mana bar of our characters fills, then the characters can trigger a special attack. Either you can activate autocast, and just let me unmute the audio for a second, because now we have, you hear? So we created a little sound effect when you activate the autocast. If you don't activate the autocast, let's deactivate it, then the characters will blink and it will show you that their mana bar is filled, and then you can time the special attack yourself. And there will be, I mean, you can just ignore it and do everything on autocast, because maybe you think that it is always the best to pop out the special attack as fast as possible, but there might be situations where it makes sense to time it yourself. For instance, there is a character, she's called Hilda, and she creates a debuff on an enemy, and this enemy takes 30% more damage throughout all damage sources. And in that situation, you maybe want to chain your special attacks all together and not just let them pop up randomly, so to say. Alright, and let's see that in action. Okay, here we go. And you see Rastuval is now blinking because his mana bar is full, and I could not now just click on him, and now he would create his special attack. Anyways, I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. If you did, then subscribe to this channel. We are close to 100 subscribers. It would be awesome if we could cross that line. And well, see you next week again with more content to come. Goodbye.